How's my friends out there? How's my friends out there? Let me know where you're joining from in the chat, please. We're going to get started here in just a minute. Just getting a drink. It is happy hour, you know. It is happy hour. Let me see if I can join on the screen. Trying some new technology today, folks. Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm an executive career coach. I help professionals like you communicate your value to find great opportunity faster, whether you're working or not. I'm joining you today from my home studio here in Portland, Oregon. It's just great to see everybody. Happy Friday. It's happy hour, and I'm sure you have some questions about career, resume, interviewing, market planning, whatever it is involving your career. I'm happy to answer any of your questions about any of those items. So go ahead and leave those in the chat. It's over on the side here, whether you're joining us by YouTube, Facebook. I have a group of Facebook folks that are joining us today. LinkedIn Live and also Periscope. Wherever you're joining us from, welcome. It's happy hour somewhere. And we're here on the West Coast, and it's happy hour here. It's 3 o'clock. Every Friday, we will be joining you live, okay, to answer all of your career-related questions. Good to see you, Muhammad, from Seattle. Good to have you in the stream today. I do post the schedule for these, 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific every Friday. And fortunately, for those of us who celebrate daylight savings, we get an extra hour of sleep this weekend. So congratulate yourself on that one. I have a number of things I wanted to talk about this week. Primarily, we're going to focus on the number one way to find work today. And I'm sure you all know what that is already. So let me get to my presentation. Really, there's a couple things I want to make you aware of in terms of what's going on here. I'm trying a new process where I'm kind of floating in the screen here with a green screen in the background. And so just let me know what you think of the production quality and what I can do to improve it. So a couple things. I wanted to bring you up to date on the podcast. If you have not listened to the podcast yet, it's jobseekersradio.com/listen. Okay. You can get the podcast episodes there. So Scott and I have done a couple of episodes recently. The one that was released this last Wednesday was actually networking without the sleaze. I know one of the things that prevents each one of us from success in our networking is I feel like I have to be somebody I'm not. And the people that I interact with, they're kind of sleazy and cheesy about the whole process. And we walk through some ideas on how to make it a lot more palatable for you so that you can get success in the process. So that's the one released just this last Wednesday. The one coming out next Wednesday is even better. The episodes just keep getting better. You can certainly download all the episodes, and if you want to, you could binge listen to all the podcast episodes. I'd be happy to get your feedback on that. Okay. And so that one is networking. Well, networking without the sleaze is this last Wednesday. Next Wednesday is the number one secret to job satisfaction. I think all of us can do a better job of taking agency on our job satisfaction. So there's always something that we can do to move our careers forward. So if you have any questions at all, we're using a new hashtag this week. It's actually Career Happy Hour. So hashtag Career Happy Hour every Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. I'm going to own that hashtag. You guys okay with that? Hopefully you are. So enter any questions you have at all in the chat, and I'm happy to answer. But really, I wanted to, for those of you that don't know me or haven't heard me speak, I wanted to go over kind of the philosophy that I have developed, over the last decade and a half of successful job search or successful career. And that means everybody probably has their own beliefs around what makes a successful career process. And for me, career success is something that can be managed, and it is a process. And each one of us can take agency in that way. Okay. And it's a really, I perceive it as a 3-step process to get where you want to go in your career. Now, this assumes, right, we're assuming for the moment that you have a noble ambition, right? You have a place that you want to go, a place that you want to be, so that you can make a difference not only in your career, but in the lives of others. Okay? So keep that in mind when you go through this process, that having a destination is really important. Knowing where you're going and why you're going there is part of the process. So we're not going to cover that part of it. My assumption is you have a place you know you want to go. You just need a vehicle in which to get you there. All of us know, correct me if I'm wrong, that networking is the number one way to find work today. What we don't know so well is how to network. And that's what I'm going to cover today. Just kind of my high-level philosophy behind the 3 steps to career success process that I've developed over the last decade and a half. And I think it'll be valuable to you to understand what this was born out of and what it really means to you. Okay? Hi, Stacy. Welcome. Hashtag Career Happy Hour. Good to have you back. Put any questions that you have in the chat box. Happy to answer. Okay? So the first step in the 3-step process is to, number one, have an authentic professional brand. I've seen a lot of people out there promoting professional, personal branding, and they put together a brand that isn't really authentic. It's something that was crafted, or how would you say it? Fabricated. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how can you build for yourself a visage, a perception, an image that is authentic to other people so that they know that you have your shit figured out. Now, I say it in that way because I think that's something that a lot of us have a problem with. We think we need to meet somebody else's expectation before our own, which certainly in some instances is important, yes, but we shouldn't change who we are to fit somebody else's expectation. So the first thing every one of us needs to figure out is, what is my authentic professional brand? What do I bring to the table that nobody else can? How do I position that? Because I might know that I have all these strengths, but I might say, you know what? I don't like doing that, but that's part of my brand. Well, that's not authentic then. You could have a brand, but it's not authentic to you, and it's certainly not going to do anyone you talk to a service. So be clear about what your brand is and what it isn't, and only talk about the things that your brand is. Often we give energy to the things that our brand isn't, and it doesn't do us any good. Why? Because people are confused. We don't want confused buyers. Do not buy, okay? I heard that somewhere. I don't remember who it was, but people who are confused don't buy. And this is, let's be clear, this is a marketing and sales process, this 3-step process. And so understanding your professional brand first is part of the process. Now, that's whether you're working or you're not working. You can still have a brand. Yes, you may have insecurities. You may not know everything. You may not have it all figured out, but you know you want to go in that direction. What you lean on is the skills, the strengths, the stuff that you're good at to get you there. If you need help with personal branding, have any questions about that, please put it in the chat. I'm happy to answer. I've created an entire course about how to build the brand and how to execute on this 3-step process. And it's fairly straightforward. I think there's, 28 lessons in that online course. So if you're interested in that, just go to my website, andrewbeach.com, and click on courses. And it's all right there. In fact, it's funny. I think I do have a free course. If you go to andrewbeach.com, you could sign up and get the networking checklist. But then at that same place, I think there's also a free course to build your branding statement. So I can put that in the chat here as well. I'll go over to my website and grab that for you as we're speaking. By the way, it's happy hour. If you have any questions at all about career, interviewing, market planning, I've had a couple of clients come in here and say, hey, we did great on the interview. We're going to the on-site last week. So that was really kind of nice to get in there and see people that were having success. And so I do appreciate that. I'm going to put it here in the chat on LinkedIn, the link to the free course. And Be Kind. It was the first course I ever created, so I think you'll find it kind of interesting and funny at the same time. So I'll go ahead and put that over on YouTube as well. There we go. Good. What questions do you have? There's people here. Come on now. I'm sure you have questions. Stacy and Mohammed and others. I'm sure you have questions. Go ahead and ask away. Put those in the chat box. I'm happy to answer. Okay? So first step, authentic professional brand. Second step, a detailed dream job description. Okay? Now, this is not something where I go out and I pull a job description off the internet. This is me actually creating the things that I love, the things I'm good at, the things I appreciate about environments that I'm successful in, the kind of leader I want to work for, the kind of company I want to work for, the cultural values that company holds, and whether or not they're living up to the values is a different story, but at least understanding from my perspective, what are the things that are important to me? And the more clear you are about this dream job description, the easier it is for you to find it. Why? Because there's something funny about putting things on paper and then talking to people about it that makes a huge difference. So what would be on this dream job description? Well, your branding statement, right? So one of the things that comes out of step one, at least in the course that I have, is you have a lot of content that you can use for different marketing pieces that you're going to leverage in your career process. Okay, so you get a lot of content for that. The second thing you get is a branding statement. And so having a branding statement allows you to communicate your value to other people in a way that they can understand. That's something that a lot of people miss. And so when I meet people for the first time, I don't tell them I'm an executive career coach that does leadership development. Those are just things that I do. Okay? What I do is I help professionals communicate their value in a way that people understand to find great opportunities faster. And that's what this 3-step system is built on. It's built on my brand. That's what I feel, that's my contribution, I suppose, to the process. Okay? So step 2, dream job description. What we're going to put on that is our branding statement. We're also going to identify our key strengths. That would be skills, our specialties, that sort of thing. And then we would have probably something related to, what was it? The type of culture you want to be in. Yeah, so the culture would be on there, things that you appreciate, target job titles. All these things would go on your dream job description, okay? So the nice thing about the dream job description is it's your document. It's not any different than, say, I don't know if you've ever been to a place like Cheesecake Factory and looked at their menu. It's huge. It's like a book. And what I want to do is take that book and put it on one page. Just show me all the stuff that I like, because there may be a lot of things in that menu at Cheesecake Factory that are really good, but you just don't like them. Okay? I want you to take all the things out of that menu, i.e. your stuff, put it on one piece of paper. Okay? And then the third step in this process is actually having conversations of significance. Now, I say it that way. What I mean is that's just really the tactical execution of the networking, yes, but it's having conversations of significance. And the question is, to whom? Well, to both parties, to not only me, but the other person. And often what I find is people, they do pretty good on the first step, right? They get the brand, they got that all figured out. Okay, I know who I am. They do pretty good on identifying the job, but really where they fall down, maybe need the most support from me as a coach, is in these conversations of significance. How do I reach out to somebody? How do I get them to respond? What do I say? What process do I walk through? And one of the nice things about the course that I put together is that we give you situational steps where you know in this situation you would handle things this kind of way with this kind of person. And here's the questioning that you would think about. Here's how you would structure that meeting. It puts some framework around the idea of conversations of significance because you get to choose who you meet with. I think that's part of this process. Starting first with the people you know and then getting the people in the second degree that you don't know. And it's a process that takes some practice, okay? So I appreciate you kind of working with me through this kind of philosophy. And you notice in this whole thing that I didn't talk about resume. I didn't talk about making applications, okay? I didn't talk about, trying to put my resume out on a job board like Indeed.com, okay? We know statistically those processes just aren't effective. What people do relate to is they hire people that they know and are familiar with and that they trust. And if I have no familiarity and trust, then I'm at an advantage from the start. Therefore, my resume becomes less important. Therefore, I'm at an advantage against people that are total strangers. That's why this process actually really, really works, okay? Hey, Stacy, thanks for the comment there. Going to your first HR chapter meeting, excellent. Yes. So having an idea, one of the nice things about going to a group event is you could probably volunteer. And I think there's a lot of value in going to group events when you volunteer because you get to see everybody who comes in, who they work for, what their title is, and you get to have an opportunity to introduce yourself to them. Gives you a lot of practice with your branding. Now, I don't typically recommend that you go to an event like that and practice your branding. I would practice my branding on somebody I know where it's a safe environment. Okay? Yeah. Good question, Shannon. Are there any cliches people should avoid using in a brand statement? All of them. Avoid all the cliches. Okay? What you need to do, and so you can see this when you take my free branding course. I put the link in the chat there, Shannon, if you want to take a look at it. Be gentle. It was my first course. I made it, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. It's on Teachable. It's totally free. But it walks you through the process of building a branding statement. And there's a number of things that you can do to actually differentiate yourself, even if you're in a marketplace that isn't into differentiation, like finance, okay? I'm really good at calculating financial numbers, right? That's not really a brand, right? But you get my point. The idea is that there's some professions that just don't have a brand perspective, and that's what that's designed for, that course. And what you'll find is that if you can really get your arms around this phrase, I am fill in the blank, okay? Now, when I say I am fill in the blank, I'm not saying I am career coach or I am a marketing specialist, okay? That's what I do. And if you know Simon Sinek, he talks about the why, right? Simon Sinek, Find Your Why. I've got the book around here somewhere. Anyway, so the idea is if you know your why, that's who you are. That's I am fill in the blank, okay? So when I introduce myself, I say, yes, I'm a teacher of self-education. And a lot of people are, self-education? You're teaching self-education? What does that mean, right? So automatically I have somebody's attention, okay? That's a little bit different than saying I am marketing specialist because I'm now lumping myself with everybody else that calls themselves marketing specialist. Now I'm the same as everybody else. It's not so much that you avoid the cliche, but you create a phrase or an identity that aligns with who you are. That's where the authenticity comes in. So I'm not going to try to be or communicate something I'm not. And that's how I would approach that. Okay. Thanks for that question. Let me know if you have another one. I would encourage you to take the course. It's really good. for my first course. It's not my current course. So, good. Is there any other questions out there? We talked around a lot of things. Again, the hashtag is Career Happy Hour. I want to remind you to share. Maybe just if you could, if you got a second, go ahead and share. There's a share link down at the bottom of the screen. You can share this with your network. I would appreciate you spreading the word when you see the event page come up. I'd like to get more people involved in this. Consider this free coaching. That's easy to sell, right? Free stuff. Who doesn't want free stuff? Okay. So if you could, just click the little link at the bottom and share with your friends. We got some folks in Seattle. That's good. Any other questions out there? What else was I going to say? Well, so I hope everybody had a great Halloween. Fortunately, my kids had off from school today, so the teachers didn't have to put up with kids all whacked out on sugar and sleep deprived. So hopefully you had a good Halloween. And I think today is, at least my wife was telling me this, she works at a charter school for Spanish immersion. And I think it's Dia de los Muertos or Niños de Muertos. Anyway, the Day of the Dead. So there's more celebration coming, evidently. But I hope you get everything you need and want in your career. And be here again. Every Friday, I'm available. I'm here to answer your questions. I'll share a little education, make a contribution. Hopefully, you get value in this. And, share it with your friends, your family. And as we go into the holidays, it's not uncommon that people go through some, how would you say it? Some reflection, right? They start thinking about what does the new year look like, making those resolutions. Often they might need some counsel. And if you know anybody that's in a position where, hey, they just want to talk to somebody about their career and get some perspective, some advice, shoot them my direction. Hey, Tim, welcome. You have any questions for me before I go? Good to have you here. Welcome. If you have any questions for me, you're welcome, Shannon. My pleasure. Tim, you have any questions for me before I go? Nothing? I know there is a delay of a few seconds. So, all right, folks. Well, the replay will be up here. You can watch it anytime you like. Have a great weekend. And as always, happy networking. Take care.